Good afternoon. I'm honored to speak at today's KWDI Forum. I'm founder and director of the Korean Unwed Mother Support Network, which advocates for and raises the visibility of the issue of the difficult situation of unwed Korean mothers and their children. In addition, I've established at Norwalk Hospital in Connecticut, as well as Connecticut Hospice, funds that assist indigent cancer patients and their families. I'm a board member of the Charter Oak Challenge Foundation, which seeks to address issues of poverty and lack of quality education in Bridgeport, Connecticut, one of the poorest cities in the state. In 1987, my wife and I already had 2 wonderful children, and we wished to have a 3rd child. However, we were unable to conceive, and we decided to adopt. We decided to adopt from Korea, as we understood that children there born to unwed mothers faced a difficult future, especially girls. By adopting, we hope to give a child a better life in the States. In addition, we understood that Korea and the U.S. had the world's best developed system of inter-country adoption. Esther, our daughter, was born in Busan in October 1987 and came to us 3.5 months later. For many years, I was an ophthalmologist specializing in glaucoma, potentially blinding disease. It was most rewarding, yet I wished to be able to help people in a different way. In 2005, I learned that many local families could not adopt due to steep and rising costs. I was especially moved by their desire to adopt siblings of children already adopted, also special needs children. I was truly grateful to Family and Children's Agency in Connecticut, FCA, and Social Welfare Society in Seoul, SWS, for bringing us our child, and I wanted to be able to help other families to adopt, as we have. I began meeting with other adoptive families in my area. Together, we started the Adoption Foundation at FCA. While I was with the foundation, we aided about 15 families. It was truly gratifying to review applications from families and make grants that would help them adopt. I believed in our work, and I wanted to do everything I could to promote it, so I asked to join the FCA social workers on their trip to Korea in October 2006 at my expense. The trip changed me completely. I was not prepared for my reaction to holding infants, some as young as 4 days old, meeting special needs children, visiting sick children in the hospital, and seeing a 3-month-old boy and his foster mom. These children had been relinquished by their unmarried mothers and therefore orphaned. However, I was deeply moved on meeting a dozen young women in an SWS facility in Daegu. All were approximately 18 to 24 years old. All were pregnant and unmarried, and every single one of these mothers had already agreed to give up her child. Suddenly, I realized that 20 years ago, Esther's mother was one of these women, and Esther was one of these orphans. And I had the answer to a question that had bothered me since adopting Esther. I had not recognized or validated the woman who gave birth to my child, nor the relationship between them. I had strongly supported adoption from Korea. However, I realized that I had been blind to the circumstances of unwed Korean mothers, their children and families, and the possible negative effects of adoption, especially international adoption, on mother and child. 70% of unmarried Korean mothers give up their children. The U.S. figure is 2%. Why the disparity? Is this truly necessary? More importantly, isn't it the right of any loving, capable mother to bring up her child if she chooses, not only in Korea, but anywhere in the world? The women I met in Daegu and Esther's mother Yongja before them had painfully relinquished their children, effectively with no societal alternative. With my thinking sharply changed, I returned home asking, how can I, an American adoptive parent, help so that the best interests of unmarried Korean mothers and their children are met? Is there a role I should play? Would it make a difference? And would it be accepted and embraced by Korean society? If a woman chooses to keep and raise her child, how can I help increase the likelihood that she will be able to do this? Should she choose to place her child for adoption, how may I help her? If Esther had been born last week, what would have been the right things to do for her and for her mother? Adoption from Korea sharply increased over 50 years ago as a valid response to the needs of war orphans and children fathered by American servicemen. Adoption continues for completely different reasons. Some overseas adoption may always be necessary. However, why isn't Korea, a democracy and the world's 13th largest economy, helping its own? Why isn't it doing everything it can to help unmarried women keep and raise their children if they choose? These brave women deserve all the help they can get. Stunned, I left the pro-international adoption foundation I helped to start. Instead, I began to focus on unwed Korean moms and their children. My hope was that I could do something to help Koreans positively address this issue. An unwed Korean woman and her child endure social stigma, hostility, alienation from her family, insufficient child-rearing resources, and lack of government support. Even though there is a father, the mother is told that since she created the problem, she must solve it alone. If the mother gives up her child to adoption, which she usually does, she is faced with the guilt and shame for the rest of her life. I love my daughter, and as grateful as I am that Esther became my child, it pains me to see any woman give up her child because family, society, and government will not support her, just as Esther was given up by her mother. I have met many Koreans who feel guilty about this issue, but seem unwilling or unable to do anything. I respect and understand that Koreans have a 5,000-year history, with patriarchal traditions that stretch blood lineage and a stigma against unmarried mothers and their children. This long-standing stigma is largely supported by current public policy. It is important for me to help make more visible the difficult situation of unwed mothers and their children, and educate, inform, promote discussion, even debate, and serve as a resource in the hopes that Koreans positively address the issue in their own way. Koreans have a wonderful opportunity to embrace these mothers and their children. This is my 5th trip to Korea in less than 2 years. I have engaged in a number of activities which include, but which are not limited to, support of Aranwan, which aids unwed mothers and their children, support of Korean Women's Workers Association, Korean Women's Associations United, as well as Hambumo, which all provide advocacy and support for older single moms. It is also my pleasure and privilege to support research to be undertaken by KWDI and a range of issues concerning unwed mothers. I came to Korea this time to continue my ongoing work, and the future holds many return trips, I hope, to work with my friends and colleagues in this wonderful country. Thank you very much.
감사합니다.